Okay, Saturday, September 10th, 2022. I'm going to do a comment-only video from the previous week in review because the previous week in review had a ton of comments, had around 100 comments. So this video is not a week in review, it's just comments from the 9/5/22 week in review and me responding to those comments. So here we go. From Lance Lee, what type of vodka is in the background? Um, Trust Me vodka. Something, I think a friend gave it to me. I don't remember who gave it to me, but I'm not really too much of a vodka drinker, but there you go. Trust Me vodka. From Let's Swim, wow, great ketone levels. I have been all about keto for years. If I look at CrossFit, I think it's a missing part. Most CrossFitters still think they need it. I believe not. Matt Morrison, what rifle do you carry in your sniper comps? Depends on what type of event I'm shooting. In this one, I was a secondary shooter, and that required a 223 AR, or an AR. I chose a 223, and then made it super lightweight. So I had a specific super lightweight JP rifle gun that I made for this rifle. Every competition I do, I kind of tailor the rifle to the specific needs, and I have a couple that fit most of the needs, but for this one I didn't have a gun that met the requirements of that competition, so I used that. Judy Lynn Tomlin. The level 1 was amazing. I learned so much, but that test, I don't think it's an accurate reflection of what a person needs to coach. Well, it's what a person needs to coach is the knowledge of how to teach the movements, and also there's a connection and compassion to basically get the attention and bond with your clients. So is the test enough to coach? For some people, yeah, absolutely. For others, no, they need, and this is the same for the level 1. Is level 1 enough for someone to coach? For some people, sure, it's more than enough. For others, they need to continue their development, and it's all individually based. The test, though, is the course is accredited by American National Standards Institute, and as part of the accreditation process, you need to have a test. So the test provides basically an understanding that you comprehended the material you just went through. So is it an accurate reflection of what a person needs to coach? It all depends on the individual, but the test is a necessary component in evaluating that you learned concepts of CrossFit through the level 1. David Weed, carbs win you championships. I disagree. Hunter Clems, how can I access more of my strength in the box? Is there anything I can do to change my mindset to be physically stronger when attempting a lift? Well, that's a tough one. Without seeing you lift and without knowing you, I'm not going to give you any of the, call it, cut and dry advice that I might give someone that I'm working with or that I know. What I mean by that is you might be at the limits of your strength already and moving poorly, and the last thing I want to say in this video is just fucking fight it out, shut off your mind and go harder. That might not be the right advice for you. Contrary to that, you might be moving great and you might have perfect technique and you're just mentally not pushing it far enough. And then I would give you the advice, just kind of mentally push. But I don't know. I can't give you good advice without seeing you lift or seeing what you're capable of. So talk to your coach, have your coach, voice this with your coach and see what they recommend. Ian Brewer, good content. Thanks. B. Sewer. Dave, thanks for another terrific edition of Week in Review. Thank you for your assessment of AH's allegations regarding Tia. Also wish you'd talk about CrossFit's plan to strengthen military affiliates. I coached at 2 military affiliates. One died completely from open hostility against CrossFit and lack of support from base leadership. The other is barely hanging on by just word of mouth without any support from base leadership. Appreciate your suggestions. Well, the most successful CrossFit programs on military bases or in the military in general are locations where there's champions for the program within. If a military affiliate is started on a base that someone really rallied behind and stood up, once that person transitions out, if there's not another passionate person to take the helm and run with it, oftentimes they struggle. And I've seen that happen across, more than just military bases, any segment uh, of the population where there's specific groups and a military or an affiliate is started, but then their champion goes on to something else. So find someone who's really passionate about the affiliate, who's really passionate about CrossFit, and make sure they're involved in running it. But the thing about military installations and bases in general, especially when you talk MWR and some of the civilian organizations that run the fitness, they have their own interests in mind in terms of fitness and the contracts that they establish. So oftentimes you are running up against roadblocks with bases and some of the military institutions in place who have different agendas in regards to fitness. Robert Bergalt. As a longtime fan of CrossFit and the CrossFit Games, I've been collecting Games plates since 2012. Do you think Rogue could raffle off a set of full Games plates signed by all the athletes and they placed at the Games? Oh, and the place where they placed the Games. Even better if all proceeds went to a charity like Wounded Warrior Project. Good idea or bad idea? Keep up the great work. It's a cool idea. I like it. Trent Hampton, loving the content. I found keto trending to ketovore to be very helpful for me. I increase protein consumption and allow my body to convert excess protein to glycogen and increase fat intake. Every workout I've retested since then has improved, including sprints, and I've continued to be able to set new 1RM lifts. I've noticed my recovery is way faster than ever, and I have better endurance, including running multiple half marathons with the majority of my training fasted. Thanks for keeping the community connected. Yeah, there's something to keto. There's something to reducing your carb intake and getting into this fat adapted state where you're fueling your efforts with fat, and ultimately what all of that leads to is, in some regards, a calorie restricted diet. But and I've also seen good strength gains and gains across all the workouts I test while in a carb restricted diet, and fundamentally even while fasting. So yes, there's something to it, but the thing is, people have to experience it for themselves. We just can't sit up here telling people it works. It's kind of like CrossFit. You need to dive in and try it. Ryan Jackson, what was your weight loss during the event and how quickly were you able to return to your baseline? And do you observe a difference in hydration needs during the event while in ketosis and calorie restricted? Great question, Ryan. First point, on the scale. I moved back up here from Carlsbad. I moved back up to this area in 2018, right before the 18 games, so over 4 years ago. About 6 months, a year before that, I was experimenting with different eating protocols and weighing myself every day. And one day, and multiple times a day, one day my wife said, "You're obsessed with the scale." And I said, "No, I'm not." And she said, "Yeah, you're weighing yourself morning, afternoon, and night." And I'm like, "All right, well, watch this." I stopped weighing myself. I stopped stepping on a scale. That was 2017, maybe early 18. I have not stepped on a scale since. So 5-6 years, I don't step on a scale out of just stubbornness now. And so I don't know how much I weighed before, and I don't know how much I weighed after, and I don't really care. But I can tell, based off of how clothes fit or how soft or not soft I am, how some of these diets or eating protocols are working for me. But I also I don't care too much about the weight. I care more about the performance, and that's why I'm chasing experimenting with a lot of these different things. The hydration key, great question. LMNT, Element, it's basically a sodium replacement packet that you put in your drink or you put in water, because whenever you're doing a super low carb protocol or diet, or even playing around with, even when you're playing around with the zone, to be honest with you, which isn't super low carb, but it's lower carb than a traditional diet, you definitely need to replace salt in your diet. You need to add more sodium to your meals, and especially when going this hardcore low carb and operating in ketosis. LMNT, the little sodium package they sell, was clutch. And really, Thomas DeLauer, he educated me on that and the significance of it. When I did Mammoth Sniper Challenge, I did it low carb, same way I did this, but I didn't have enough sodium replacement, and towards the end, I suffered. When I did the 35-mile fasted rug, I did use Element, but I didn't drink enough, and I kind of tried taking this mentality where I wasn't gonna do too much water, and towards the end, it hurt my recovery and it hurt me at the end. For this event, I drank a lot of water, and I drank a lot of water supplemented with the sodium replacement, and that was super clutch, and that helped a lot. So yes, when you're calorie restricted and or super low carb and or in ketosis, sodium replacement, especially during performance, is super critical. Ryan Jackson, again, excellent advice on approaching learning. Abby V, love your take on low carb keto diet. We'll definitely try it for a 24-hour event in a few weeks. Thank you for all that you do for us. Abby, I don't know what your history is with it. I don't recommend you try it in a few weeks. Here's why. You have to definitely adapt to that style of eating for performance, for an event. And some people, it takes months to become fat adapted to where it'll actually work for them. I don't know enough. You didn't give me enough context on where you are in the journey. If you have been doing it for months, if you are fat adapted, but based off of what you just said, love your take on low carb keto diet. We'll definitely try it for a 24-hour event in a few weeks. I don't know if you'd be ready. It takes a big foundation of changing the style of eating you do, your body adapting to it, and then experimenting with it before committing to an event. So hit me up, let me know. I can give you more advice on that if you'd like. Matthew, the Buttery Bros have sold themselves out, and now their videos are just a bunch of ads. Craig Medvets, Dave, I'm a 64-year-old UPS driver, 38 years at the UPS, congrats, just recovering from prostate cancer surgery. Doc said I'm good to go except riding bikes. Trying to get back into delivery shape. My hours keep me from joining a gym, but I have a small workout room, rower, bike, dumbbells, pull-up, dip rack, and bench. Is there a website that can direct me to some easier workouts that I can check out? P.S. I shoot 3-gun USPSA and still challenged. Thank you for your time. Cool. Well, CrossFit.com. Check them out. There's some workouts. There are some scales. I think that they post pretty often to them. And honestly, the other place I would recommend, and I've recommended this in other videos, is Street Parking. They have really good advice for workouts and workouts with minimal gear. So, or take a look at any of the CrossFit programming out there and just scale it to yourself. But that takes a little more knowledge. And so checking out some of the existing resources is a good way to start. Mandabwell. Followed Hiller for about 2 weeks, couldn't subscribe anymore, turned into CrossFit TMZ. Greg C, good to see you weekly. Will you be doing an advertised affiliate tour? Would be great getting to see you in person, getting people out to boxes for a workout. It's time for a Sevon interview. Yes, eventually. I don't know when. I'm actually going to Brazil soon. I think that one's going to be advertised. Eric Plaza. Everyone's so worried about who's clean and blah, blah, blah. Spend less time worrying about other people and what's out of your control and put more of that energy into yourself and being a better you. Shit's ridiculous. Who cares? I agree with you, but the reality is a lot of people care. And like when you're in the public spotlight and you're an athlete or you put yourself out there, the criticism and the praise is going to come, and people do care. It's part of culture. It's part of society. Shit's ridiculous. Who cares? I agree with everything you said, but the reality is people do care. Bubbles618, yo Dave, definitely not true with the Buttery Bros. I started watching all their vlogs during the beginning of the pandemic. That was my sole motivation to start back at CrossFit. Happy to say 2 years later, I'm down 60 pounds and loving it. Because I started, I had 3 others that joined and have transformations. There you go. Very cool. Jessica Chaplin, is there an update on the firefighter program training you mentioned a few episodes back? Still diving into it. There's some people that I connected with in CrossFit that are working on some things. I've talked to Matt Chan, so just kind of still in process. Jason with the Canadian flag. Dave, love your content. I don't think you should dismiss Hiller's take on Tia without even watching his video. Your opinion is also valid, but his video was full of data to support his opinion. Clickbait was a poor choice of words. I didn't watch his video. You're absolutely right. I am going to dismiss his opinion. I've heard that it was based off of photos to support his opinion and other videos and things he's seen. So Hiller has video and photo to support his opinion. I'll tell you what I have. So here's what I have. Tia has competed in the sport for almost a decade. She's won 6 times, and before that, She, I think, was second at least 1 or 2 years. So she's been at the games 8 or 9 years, call it. Every phase of that process, she's been tested. And she has been tested more than 20 times that I know of. Tested more than 20 times, blood and urine, by a professional testing agency over the years. Multiple in-season and out-season tests. And she's passed every single one. So his evidence is videos. My evidence is over 20 positive drug tests. I'm sorry, not positive. We passed drug tests. She passed the drug test more than 20 times. What do I think? What am I? And in a sport that I ran with an agency that we worked closely with, that I wanted people to fail. We wanted to catch people, and we didn't catch as many as we wanted. But so lay that out: photographs or actual drug tests. Now, if I had said we've tested her 2 or 3 times over the past decade, I think there's an argument. Maybe not an argument, but there's something like it's not enough tests. But she's been tested over 20 times. And so is it a fluke that she's successfully passing all those tests and not getting popped? I think that evidence is pretty significant in this Tia debate of if she's juicing or not. The fact that how many times she's constantly passing these tests. You can't disregard that. And you can't compare actual tests versus photos. As evidence, I would take the tests all day long. Love the vodka bottle in the background. I hope it's not Everclear. Olga Santiago, A Girlfriend's Guide to Life. Inclusivity, competition shall remain, competing against the gender you were born with. Live as you want, but competition shall remain as it is. Not sure if that's what one question was referring to. I'm so sick of this BS taking over at work. So Flash, would you recommend a program for rucking? I'm enjoying it as a beginner. I don't know if there's programs for rucking. I imagine GoRuck might have something. I think I should write a program for rucking. I obviously have a lot of experience now. I might do that. Let me know if you'd be interested. Explosive Minds. I did my last IM 703 completely on keto. Felt great and didn't eat a lot of food during the race. Yep, Explosive Minds, same guy. Even if you know everything from the level 1, surely there's a ton people can learn from one another at the seminar. You got to come out a different person at the end of the weekend than you walked in. That is a decision you make, not a feeling. Yep. Logan Mars. Did you track ketones with the Thomas DeLauer run? Just at the end, I measured my ketone levels. I forgot. It was in the high 2s. I took a photo, but I don't remember. High 2s, I think. Jessica Baker. As someone who loved the level 1 is ready to pursue the level 2. Any advice on overcoming the fear and intimidation of the level 2 structure? No fear, no intimidation. The instructors are very... they help you through the coaching scenarios. You're not being tested in the actual coaching, and they give you great feedback. And these guys are all pros at delivering feedback that doesn't close people off, insult them, or scare them. Absolutely go to the level 2. It's a great course, and these instructors are all pros. Rich Brosda. TDC is feisty this week. I love it. Steve Shaw. Dave, what about a lower cost simplified level 1 course for children? I believe there would be a lot of CrossFitters interested in having their children participate in a course where they have the opportunity to learn more about nutrition and proper body movements. Do you have a local CrossFit Kids class? Maybe someone else said, do you have a local CrossFit Kids class? Maybe a good place to start. Yeah, that's a good idea. A local CrossFit Kids class might be a good place to start. A simplified level 1 course for children, that's interesting. It might be really cool for the parents. They might really want their kids to do it, but the kids might not want to do it. That's a tough one. I got to wrap my head around that more. Chris Bankovic. What shoe sock combo did you use for the long distance ruck? What did you do to prepare your feet? How often do you swap socks? Anything over 30 miles tears up my feet. So I used Ultra Olympus 4. They basically fell apart. I'll cover that in another video. And for socks, I used some Smart Wool socks, and I changed my socks 2 or 3 times. I had 2 pairs, changed out once, and then the other pair I used again. I should have had 4 pairs of socks every 12 hours, change them out, but I didn't. And how did I prepare my feet? Just by a lot of rucking. Just a lot of rucking and just the time under tension on the feet with weight on my back. Elizabeth Banda, love your response to the Hiller video. UT Prosim. Learn what the definition of clickbait is. Clickbait is a thumbnail bait and switch once the video starts. The Hiller video asks, is Tia natty? And then proceeds to explain through the entire video why he doesn't think so. And he makes extremely compelling arguments. Some people then start going back and forth with this dude. Hammer's ball, that's what I said. Is she natty or natural, IED, PED free? He says no. Kate Foster, compelling arguments. Hiller could have made that video about any CrossFit athlete. The fact that his supporters are now hounding her sponsors is absolute bullshit and gutless. This dude responds back, Kate Foster, did you watch his video? And what supporters do is unrelated and stupid. I'm sure he would say the same. Kate Foster, he intrigued one of them. He openly bragged about one of her sponsors turning the comments off as a result of his and his followers' comments. Gutless, bloody keyboard warriors interrupting their business is the worst behavior. Proism goes back. Then you know he makes a very compelling case, and I have no idea of, okay, let's move on. Wayne Trana, your ketosis experiment is very interesting. Wondering if the SF community could benefit from a larger type of this study of this type, i.e. diet prior to and during missions. Love this content, Dave. Thomas DeLauer responds and said, this is the exact stuff we're working on, Dave included, badass stuff happening. He's absolutely right. A lot of people are experimenting with it. A lot of groups have experimented with it over the years. It is becoming more common and known in some of those elite communities as a good way to prep for going on deployments and missions, and it should continue to be explored and looked at and used by groups like that, and will be, especially with people like Thomas working with some of these groups. Carrie McIntyre, thanks Dave for defending Tia and giving your opinion. I agree, she is clean and just an amazing athlete. I was looking forward to hearing your opinion on this. UT Proism came back and did a little monkey thing with I don't know what that means, with the eyes covered. Audrey Frazier, learning is not attained by chance. It must be sought for with ardor and attended to with diligence. Abigail Adams. NP Tiff, Dave, so good to hear that you've had a great experience doing the event in a state of nutritional ketosis. The CrossFit Health team seems to be leaning towards low carb, high fat speakers, videos, which is great to see. Been keto for well over 5 years. Feel great and solve health issues. My workouts haven't suffered. Thomas DeLauer, thank you again for commenting, Thomas. It's nice to see open-minded attitudes toward it these days. Different strokes for different folks, but seeing in the accepting of it and understanding of human metabolism a bit more is refreshing. So Thomas, you guys got to look into his stuff. He's super open-minded, and he's not this dogmatic follower of keto to a fault. He experiments constantly and pivots and just takes what's beneficial and refines and plays with and experiments. And it's really interesting to dive into his stuff and to talk to him, because he is viewed as the keto guy, but he's 100% not the keto guy. I would say he is the experimenting guy, and he just wants to chase performance and see what absolutely works the best and how it affects your body. So check out his stuff. Peter Parahoos, booze in the corner. Tom Peled, think of doing a high rocks competition. How do you rate the fitness level needed versus something like the open local CrossFit competition? So I talk a lot about I don't watch CrossFit competitions. I don't watch local or the bigger CrossFit competitions. I'll go to local competitions to support. Sevon's mentioned the High Rocks to me. I have no idea what the High Rocks competition is, so I can't advise. Don't know. Rack biceps curl athlete. Okay, I did keto for 4 years. Initially, it was a good way to slim down for medical reasons. I wasn't allowed to lift anything heavy or so high power output sports, only endurance stuff. Keto is actually time saving, especially when having a lot of daily work stress, work related travel, etc., because you can go way longer without eating, i.e. you are less prone to junk food. True. Focusing on getting into the zone is also easier on keto. The big drawback is that keto is stressful because of food limitation. I grow fruits in my garden and I want to eat it too. Just eat clean and everything will be fine. Just eat clean and everything will be fine. True and untrue. I see people who live by that, and everyone's definition of what clean is very different and sometimes not exactly conducive to everything being fine. Agree to disagree. However, short power output, sprints, 1RM attempts, etc. is another drawback because the muscles are not fully filled with glucose on keto. Performance will drop during a training session suddenly, i.e. strength workouts limited. This isn't a problem for someone who already achieved a high strength level or is happy with what's there. The truth is that the majority of people can achieve their strength goals with or without keto because their goals aren't that high anyways. True, most nutritional recommendations are skewed to what elite athletes are doing, while the majority of people need to drop body fat while being average at everything. This dude said, this is the most on-point comment on keto ever. You described perfectly what I experienced. Dog just came up. That's what I'm petting. There was a lot there. I'm going to move on. Alex Bailovich. Some great CrossFit boxes down here in Cape Town. David Jones. The Buttery Bros inspired me to do one thing: scroll past their videos. Rick L. I used to hate on them, but then a bunch of people now comment. Yeah, fuck those guys. They are everything. Okay. I'm not going to go through all these. Uh, Fonzie. She is fucking clean. How come? How do you know? Have you provided any factual data? Not here to defend Hiller nor trash talk about Tia. That's not my point. Yeah, the factual data is what I talked about above. Over 20 drug tests that she has passed. But has CrossFit implemented a comprehensive and transparent drug testing framework through all the yes? Rapid answer is no. Yes, we have. I may understand the reasons cost facilities, qualified physicians. We do tests through all those stages, through most of those stages, so I disagree there. Ultimately, the answer is that the athletes are not tested broadly, consistently, and accurately. That's not true. Yes, they are. So please don't brush off that kind of accusation made up by Hiller, because you are as clueless as him. Sure. Kate Foster, seriously, dude, innocent until proven guilty, or would you be happy to be convicted in a court of law without evidence? I agree that he can't definitely say T is clean, just like Hiller can't say he is dirty. I can say that, again, because of all the drug tests that she has passed, that she has positive, that she is successfully not been, that she has successfully passed. I cannot agree that Tia, just like Hiller, can't say she is dirty, but if we take what we know about athletic competition and apply that to Tia, there's a 90% chance that she has used something that wasn't detected or that left her system faster than they could test it. Also, drug testing someone's blood versus urine, we do both, can yield versus very different results. I say let's retest her B samples so we can all just put this to rest. We can't trust CrossFit HQ because they have the power to withhold or share test results. When a guy like Phil Troon gets caught, it's can't read the rest. Read more. It's whatever. He wasn't big enough to bring the profits. This is all ridiculous for a company involved. But if Tia came out as dirty, then CrossFit would have a PR nightmare and profits would see some drastic effects. If she failed the test, we'd be the first fucking people to put it out. We're not protecting anyone. People like this dude and Hiller and whoever say that we protect athletes. It couldn't be further from the truth. And you know what? If they did fail, it's not going to affect all the individuals training at CrossFit gyms whose lives are changed on a daily basis. They're going to continue to do CrossFit. Who's the strongest person mentally you have ever encountered? Can we have a story with the person? Because I don't think you'll give a name. Thanks for being Dave. It's a SEAL I served with. His name's Chance Hughes. I'll give his name. He was the owner of CrossFit Predation. He lives in Thailand now, wandering the world on his motorcycle. And that dude was tough. I saw him do a 3-mile ocean swim in Virginia Beach in the wintertime with no wetsuit. And with a wetsuit, swimming in Virginia Beach is extremely cold. It's cold enough. I hated doing it, much less 3 miles. And because he lost the bet with his best friend, he did a swim in just his shorts, and he came out completely like all frozen, but he did the swim, and that's one of the toughest mental things I've ever seen. The 3-mile swim, I mean, it takes close to an hour, I think, or I forget, maybe less than an hour, but I wouldn't do that. James Hill, great to hear about your performance at the Sniper Challenge on keto. My favorite way to CrossFit Medcons and other sports are the next morning on a fast. I've been eating low carb for years. So many benefits to the diet. Thomas, heck yeah, brother. Brian Boone, question, were you messing with us when you almost answered the questions about why you regret not programming? What were you going to say? Are you a dog person? Do you have any? Yes, I do. Did you read the New York Times coverage about buds? I did not. What was my graduation rate for the class? Pretty high. Thanks for your service. Keep the books coverage coming. I love it. His dog, Doug, is famous. She's a beaut. Great comment on learning and having an open mind. Appreciate these updates. Look forward to the videos about your competition. Joshua Little. I visited La Benranta for Christmas when I was a kid. Great town. Casey Crosby. Dave said years ago, is it possible that an athlete took or takes something in the offseason but tested clean at the games? Yes, it happens. But at the time they were tested at the games, they're clean. I like Dave, but of course, that's what he would say about Tia. He works for CrossFit. Most everyone is or has taken something. If you believe different, you have a right to be wrong. It baffles me that people just can't buy into this notion that some of these athletes have excelled through the hard work and the time they put into it, and the stimulus of CrossFit combined with their mentality, hard work, and discipline. This is what you see. You see these people that that achieve these great levels, and it makes people question if it's possible. Kate Foster, and yet Hiller only goes after one athlete, and so he starts opining on other athletes. His 2 videos are gutless. BH Rage Legacy, everyone is on PEDs. Parker, what are your thoughts on High Rocks? Don't know. Jim L. Dave, I respect you, but your feedback is Hiller is also based on no factual data. Wrong again. I'll say it again. Dozens of tests that she's passed. He at least overlooked years of competitions, form and strength and weaknesses, and commented on why her performance and attitude seemed off for particular reasons. You just said you don't fan out on athletes, yet your retort seems very political. Then a bunch of people responded to this. He was looking at pictures of her. If there was a negative test or witness saying, okay, he has no data, he just looked at pictures over time. Yeah, that's a good point. You don't think people can build muscle over time. So a lot of comments on this. I'm not going to go through all of those. Okay. The current state of affairs is exactly why someone should serve. We are eternally grateful. Barry Smith, adding a voiceover in many different languages would up the viewer count and reach more people, and only 10% of the world population speak English. I agree. Dog, Dad, Baby CrossFit. Is there anything out there that will help us study for the level 3? Of course, a packet of articles to read, videos to watch. What would you recommend to do? Yeah, so Google level 3 course material, level 3 study guide, actually, and it'll come up. It's somewhere on the site. I don't know where off the top of my mind, but there's a comprehensive study guide for prepping for the level 3 that has all the recommended reading. John Smith started doing ultras in 2019. I've been a coach since 2011. I'd love to try the Ultra Lone Peak Mids, height, or the standard version. I'm also a heavier athlete, 200 pounds, and have hundreds of miles on them. Doing lightweight rucks on the AT or wearing them in my assaulter kit all day long. They've held up a decent amount of ground with just the right amount of cushion. They only last 400 miles or so. Someone responded to him, would love to hear how you combine CrossFit and ultras. I'm a runner and CrossFit too. Love to hear your and Dave's thoughts on long distance endurance training mixed with standard 3-on, 1-off CrossFit schedule. I'll address that at some point. As a long time now, 50-year-old CrossFit keto athlete, it's awesome to hear you share your experiences. We'd love to hear more about your strategies and plans with endurance events. So glad to have you back in the space, and thanks for the updates. Thank you. Eric Gerber, don't say that to get clicks, but I clicked here because of it. Someone said something in Russian, can't read it. Check out Keto Bricks for your event. 1 cal, clean, balanced nutrition for keto, small and lightweight. They can also be cut into smaller chunks for smaller refills. I'll check them out. A history of the games book would be awesome. Thank you for your service and your role in creating and directing my favorite sport. And thank you for doing these reviews. Thank you. Big coffee table book, John Woods said. Can we buy the grass-fed beef? John Woods also said. Not currently, but I'd like to get to the point where I have something like that. So this was a beast of a video, going through all 100 of these comments. The interesting thing now is, so when I do my next weekend review on Monday in a couple days, it'll have comments. The problem is this video is going to have comments. So is this just a snowball effect of just all these videos I have to respond to with multiple comments? I guess I'll work it out. So comment here. I don't know if I'm going to respond to these. Definitely wait till my weekend review. I will. I'll respond to some of them on my weekend review. Then I'll do my weekend review. And it'll all depend if I'm going to have these special comment response videos on how many comments I get in the weekend reviews. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening for 33 minutes if you did. And talk to you guys in a couple days with the weekend review.